as our full moon ascension energies are about, the lovely 5D collective has began its journey of more expansion. 5D mystic, mentor, content creator, podcast host, self-empowered, enlightenment soul age group, a functional inner child adult, a functional adult, a person who's whole, non-traumatized, securely attached people, the 5D collective. So we get to be ourselves. So being yourself with integration, anchored in ventral and embodying your spiritual essence. We began with that's your number one stop to the first spiritual destination, if you will, my choice of words, because embodying your spirituality and the essence of that, which is the true spirituality, is living a life of meaning and connection beyond the soul self. You are not going to be able to have space beyond your soul self if you don't own yourself, which requires you to have no trauma charges, but to have a person who uses the courage of their prefrontal and ventral when emotions come up, when the unknown comes up. Okay, so we have the journey to ourself and integration and restorative embodiment as the number one place to be. And then that's 5D frequency people that will know what it's like to be a mystic. Mystic is a person who, as Sadhguru shares, is able to explore the miracle of life from its profoundness, and that's beyond the five senses, or as a person that Dr. Daniel Siegel, I'm attachment trauma informed, and I learned from a bunch of people. I won't ever be able to read all their names out to you, but as he shared with me in one of my courses, John O'Donohue shared with him how a mystic is someone who believes in the reality of the invisible. Some of us are also mystics with Christian Catholic backgrounds, right? Some of us are mystics with yoga backgrounds. So we all have different ways and different anima mundi. We bring it all together. And the ones who don't like it, we know of the 3D, 4D collective. Their paused self and their karma is their own trauma time on a wheel. And in fact, when ascension energies come about, since they don't have healed hypervigilance, which looks like open-hearted spontaneity, thank you, Patrick Tihan. We're all open-hearted. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you to my 3-year-old, my 1-year-old, my mom, my twin, to my own household, okay? So a securely attached, non-traumatized person is able to, without you, be regulating in my ventral energy or ventral vagal. So I know how to be in my prefrontal cortex. Now, Robert Sapolsky with Determined says that we have no free will. Other people that are mindful practitioners say we have no self, it's an illusion, that the free will is an illusion. I'm going to say I like to be grounded in reality, but I am the pseudoscience woo lady, as I bring science, spiritual, and spirituality together. But my groundedness in reality is Dr. Daniel Siegel, Stephen Porges, Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, Janina Fisher, Ruth Lanius, Beth, a bunch of smart human beings, okay? And they all, Patrick McNamara, no demon in the body of anyone. When we have a person like my body and my mind and myself in front of you, if you got shadow shit, it's gonna come up. Now, if you welcome yourself, then great, because I'm a somatic empath, so I will be already accepting, respecting, and loving you because I chose to be in an interaction with you. And because anything that comes out of your mouth, since I'm an empowered, not a hypervigilant inner child, I'm an empowered one, you can use all the words you want. I'm not insulted. Actually, as a teenager, when people began doing that, I learned how to handle that, which is, wow, okay, they're really upset. I don't know about what. Now I know it's non-bilaterally integrated brain people. And I learned as a teenager how to handle adaptive child parts is what these people become. So their perception and perspective is all skewed. If they're mystics, they're spiritual bypassers. And again, we don't have to point it out. They like to just use Lucifer's name. And then they like to say, my spirit irritates your demons. And it's like, no, not really. But, I mean, I guess if you're that type of person, then you're probably thinking, I'm expanding spiritually, so of course I lose people because they're of the lower frequencies. And it's like, oh, wow. Sounds kind of egoic. I don't think God would talk about that as you being very humble. I don't think you know humility or empowerment for that matter. In fact, actually, I've met a really, really great, smart human being, and I've known of them for a while, but his authenticity is beyond a bejesus of amazing since I've met the man, again, online, not in person. And so in one of his recent marketing, he gives a lot of good advice for marketing if you want. Gary Vaynerchuk. So I forget which one it is because I've consumed like 5 or 10 of his videos, not all the way through, but a good portion of them. And in one of them, he's telling those who are asking him for advice, I think it's his own podcast, is like, nobody gives a fuck about you. And it's meaning nobody cares if you make a mistake, which is where I'm like, yeah, thank goodness somebody tells these people about something, because when you meet those who have the lack of self-empowered ego, they're just continuing to think the world revolves around them like an insecure 3-year-old. And even if they're not an insecure 3-year-old, they're going to be a Cusco 16-year-old who's just as uninteresting to an empowered human being, because they are compulsively reacting. And the term in Robert Sapolsky with his book, No Free Will, I haven't read it yet, but it's why with Stephen Porges and them being biologically rude and their ears flopped down, I'm not going to interact with a child. It's your karma. You're living out your 0-8-year-old. As Terry Real would point out, you're now an adaptive child who's harsh, unforgiving. You're using, as Patrick Jan would point out, a dysregulated nervous system, and you're going to engage with that which is projection, which is also, as Pat Ogden points out, your trauma time. And as Bezel Vanderkolk points out, it's an experience. You don't even notice that your sensations, images, affects, meanings, behaviors, maladaptive patterns of behavior, including your adaptive child narrative, is all your stuff from your first 8 years of life, and you're bringing it into a room. Zen master with your laundry. So narratives are what those who are 3D, 4D do, and when they're interacting with you, they'll do, excuse me, you're confusing science, spirituality. And that's, no, I'm not, I actually bring them together. No, because you see, I'm a mystic too. Okay, wait, maybe I used the wrong words. Here, let me try again. Blah, 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 blah. No, because see, I know Buddha and quantum physics, so now they're continuing to make it all about what they know, control, just, it's to a T, as lovely Terry Reals pointed out, and I'm having a good time because I'm not a person who's insecure. So as I continue to engage with curiosity, openness, acceptance, and love, thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel, for the acronyms, because that's how it works when you're using mindfulness, mindset on purpose, for real, because I'm myself and not pretending, and I'm not insecure. I'm secure, so I'm Maria and her ventral, and I'm just having a good time. Krishna Leela coming in. Shiva was already there, so was Kali. We're all doing great. My child parts are enormous. No, they're great, because there's the grown-up, my higher self. Okay, so that's the 5Ds. Okay, I'm having a good time, and I'm in the present. So I am completely at ease with what's going on, and it is fun, which is why I know biological rudeness isn't even rudeness to me. I mean, I've had a person that I love dearly yell in my face. That was one of my first moments of, I'm so proud. I'm like, what are you proud of? You did something normal, Maria. But that's the word. I was like, oh, yay, I was able to not actually, make them get what they have typically gotten, which is a good thing. And also I knew that we would be visiting in time a lot of different things, which is also good. But let me get back as I have messages, food for thought for our full moon. So the point is, the integrated brain, restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating person is a 5D collective who, when ascension energies come about, expand. The ones who are 3D, 4D, they don't expand. They play their karma wheel. If you compulsively react, external situations determine how you are right now. If you consciously respond, your well-being is very much in your hands. Your well-being is integrated brain, restorative embodiment, and that's a person who also has a securely attached self. You can get securely attached. And that's with good therapists. Love yourself, become yourself, and then you're going to know how amazing it is to also be able to be an empowered human being who has a good time no matter who's around and what's going on. So the person, we ended the conversation, yep, we're on the same page, because I actually knew that we were going to head in the same direction, but I still have a different way that I'm doing stuff, which is I do bring together science and spirituality, because they say the exact same thing. Your body, as Jesus has pointed out, the kingdom of God can be in your body. And Sadhguru has another quote that he shared with us about Jesus. It was on Christmas. But as Sadhguru points out, the seed of enlightenment is within you. And how he also shares that yoga supports you to discover that. I know, thanks to Stephen Porges, why yoga and mindfulness and meditation help you. And Dr. Daniel Siegel. But I also know that if you don't do it the right way, that shit comes up and you're going to go spread rumors that yoga brings demons out of you because you don't know how to actually be a person yet. because you still have trauma charges, and as Pat Ogden has pointed out, that are so big that they're non-metabolized, and as Peter Levine points out, once one moves along, the rest do. But if you can't contain them, and you can't have an inner growth mindset, but instead you have, oh, my spirit must be bringing demons out of you. You got a not securely attached bunch of people with paused selves, half safe, who, as Patrick Tian will point out, will make any toxic relationship look good and continue to carry on with transgenerational, cultural, all the trauma stuff. So we have two groups of people, the ones who are going to continue doing that, the ones of us who are not, and that's because our bodies are the pure consciousness capacity of embodiment, thanks to us knowing how to self-regulate, number one, by being your true self, number two, and that's with prefrontal, number three, and it's not a competition. So everybody can achieve that wholeness with Patrick Tian, Terry Real, then they continue, or Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox, Bezel van der Kolk, you name it. Everybody's healable if they put their best feet forward and do it the right way with the good therapist, not the ones who don't believe personality disorders are healable, or anybody who's denying any of the sciences. So, I mean, again, it's really unimpressive to meet ignorant, non-bilaterally brain people, but let me move forward. So being yourself with integration, anchored in ventral, and then you get to, therefore, for those of you who do know about the spiritual essence of you, spirituality, you embody that. So you spiritually will be amazed at tomorrow. Okay, let me pause so that I can get to what I was able to channel this morning. It's a short one. Food for thought, channeled guidance. Again, you take what resonates, you leave what doesn't. The journey to yourself, integration and restorative embodiment, is the first stop of your spiritual destination. From here, everything else unfolds with you having access to your maximum potential for the lifetime you've been gifted. None of us know how much that is. As pure consciousness embodied in human form, you support human evolution and consciousness in your own unique way and live a mindfulness daily life thanks to mindset, mindfulness practices, and mindset skills. Whether through HP or not, you've been doing it automatically if you're yourself. And that's where adding to it creates resiliency to more of that, which is a restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating person when unknowns, unexpecteds, and wanteds present, because they will always present. But unlike the Zen master who calls his tears laundry, we will know of it as the opportunity to put into practice what we preach, like for me. So the depths of the emotional, mental, and physical plane are not scary, and self-soothing, self-regulating is in my ventral vagal when I get upset, and using my prefrontal cortex, which is why we don't need a reward, which is why, yeah, the world don't revolve around us. Nobody gives a fucking shit. And here's Shiva. So Gary Vee pointed it out very straightforwardly, and the people who can know it, yeah, I don't matter. Not because I don't matter to me, but my life won't make a difference in your life necessarily. Because it won't. That's okay. I got rejected at 4. I don't need a reward for being a person who can be their self, which is instead what you find those cheerleaders who are cheering each other on in the most uninteresting of ways. So here we have being our true selves, mindfully, spiritually, with flaws, with integrity, with wholeness and aliveness, not pseudo-aliveness and spiritual bypasser people. Nope. And we do embody unconditional love. That's the pure consciousness. So we know how to consistently grow more enlightened by the day because we're non-reactive, more of the flow state by the day because selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness happens with the integrated brain and restorative embodiment self, and you using mindset, mindfulness, and mindsight daily with life and interactions, okay? So that's where with our relationships, we grow a life of meaning and connection beyond the soul self with humanity as well, which is why we live out true spirituality. I get to bring to you the 5D Mystic Enlightenment, functional adult relationships, new stories to heal trauma together and bring forth your humanity, and also sciences, spirituality, and spiritual elements, or human elements is what I call sciences, and that's to explore human evolution and consciousness, which is really amazing. So please do keep in mind, not everybody wants to join us in living a life that is of meaning and connection beyond the soul self. Not everybody wants to tap into their infinite higher human conscious potential as their true self in this lifetime, because not everyone takes seriously healing with a good therapist like Patrick Tian or Terry Real. And that's as straightforward as it gets, because at the end of the day, again, Jesus shared the kingdom of God is within you. Neuroscientists, neurobiologists, and all mental health professionals share, yes, within you, if you have a body that can be with emotions and thoughts, and that can consistently bring up all of those child parts, the first three count, without them being charged, because you are able to use a bilaterally, vertically, overall integrated brain. You own the sense of self, so you have integrity. You own means that you have observing, witnessing, narrating capacity. So you don't have a monkey brain, a dull brain, a butterfly brain, a one-focused brain, or an enamored with oneself brain, who are cut off from Purusha Prakriti. In fact, they say, Anima Mundi, no, you're all Luciferians. And we're like, no, we're not, but hey, have a good time out there. So the healthy self-worth empowered counterparts, yes, they're here as well. Couples can do remarkable things to heal each other as best friends, confidants, better than any therapist, because they are romantically engaged. Thank you, Stan Tatkin, Psych D, MFT. Shadow work, as the NICABM post shares, is something very, very challenging, but that's where the real healing is. And obviously, it always begins and ends with you having self-compassion with yourself and humanity, and continuing to pursue, again, the authentic relationships. It's when we are integrated, healthy self-worth people who foster healing together, because I don't heal you, even if I'm a Reiki practitioner and an Akashic record reader. You are the one who takes ownership of the sensations, images, affects, meanings, and behaviors of the experiences, and you don't project them towards me, because you're mindfully living. Even if you're not of spirit, you're still mindfully living as yourself, and you don't project your fear, shame, blame, fault, revenge onto me. No, you talk to me, and then it grows and we expand. So yes, couples do a really great job when they are healthy and empowered individuals who know how to unconditionally love who they are and who others are, and therefore they're leading with the higher self. Richard Schwartz, PhD, when you get good parenting and you don't have a lot of attachment wounds from your past, from your parents, then you don't have a lot of protectors, you don't have a lot of exiles, and you have a lot more access to self in general. Secure attachment is when you are more self-led. And so again, the full moon and the ascension energies for the 5D collective, they consistently have us expanding. My journey began in 2007 with Claire's, but I come with Jesus and God as a Christian Catholic who began saying yes, communion, confirmation, and then by the time I'm 19, I said, hey God, I don't see Lucifer. I see these men in cloaks and women, and they completely at this point are denying people the right to heal and become that which every person can, again, be, is heaven in the body. When they deny neuroscientist Patrick McNamara with decentralization of the self in general, when they deny meditation, mindfulness, and yoga because they don't understand Peter Levine's research, or Bessel van der Kolk's, or Stephen Porges, or basically they continue to deny it. Denying is the only word that comes to my mind, because if you get all these smart human beings in one room that I've learned from as a stupid human being, I mean, wow, you are actively speaking against healing human beings' body, which is, by the way, healing itself anyways, which is exactly why they cannot turn the clock back to the medieval times, no matter how much. Nobody's trying. Oh, the narratives of the people that are 3D, 4D. So I will allow myself to expand just a little bit more, because I was closing us out. Danny, I don't know how to pronounce Deany, Deany, Liliotis, Licsw. The quote is, sometimes when we offer the invitation and they don't accept it, doesn't mean we didn't plant a seed. I beg to differ. Because if I have a distorted self in front of me, which is a paused self, which has a distorted perception of reality due to the fact that they have unresolved childhood trauma from the age of 0 to 3, not to mention in the womb, and they've got a bunch of books from yesterday's news, and they're non-bilaterally integrated, and so they are cut off from Purusha Prakriti, pure consciousness, pure energy, so basically I got a half a brain. Like the guy who says, excuse me, you're confusing shit. I'm not confusing shit. You're not hearing me, as you don't have two sides of the brain working, because you don't know how to be in the darkness of the complete maximum uncertainty, because you don't know how to sit in your right mode, not the other way around. I can sit easily in my right mode, and that's where Maria Maria. I've been sitting in my right mode for a long time because I'm an inner child that didn't get broken. I'm a functional child adult because I was allowed to be a child in my 0-8, and then I was allowed to continue being all of my sensitivity and allowed to continue, and I know how to self-regulate in my ventral. So the ignorant human being has imagination and their memory, that first implicit memory. Yeah, so all I need to do is start hearing what's coming out of your mouth. I'm going to notice if you're a distorted human being who's not grounded in reality because you're taking every single bit of science, technology, whatever it is, and you're giving me your skewed perspective. Now, whether you give it to me strong and use Lucifer's words or not doesn't matter. I'm going to know if you're 3D because you're living medieval times. I'm going to know if you're 4D because you got a bunch of different narratives going on that are beyond a bejesus of it. And all of these, though, have the same equation. They still believe in demons and that only some people are spirit. And they play God. And that is where they're not God. And if they were smart enough to actually hear the information with open ears, they would notice how these scientists, all of them, human, social sciences, neuroscience, all of them have a path to the well-being of a human being. It's called self-love and being yourself, because you get to learn how to regulate your nervous system and you get to use your brain and mind. Okay, so they explain it really, really easy. And the people who are not in those courses for the right reasons, they also stand out, which is why I mentioned the Gary Vee thing, because as he again points out to people who are asking for his advice, and they're asking though in a way that is very clear how timid their energy is. And I love it again, like nobody gives a fuck about you. That's not the point, and that makes me again and again think of cheerleaders and jocks and all those teenagers that I saw, and then I grew up and I got busy and I still see them out there. They're just grown-ups now who are stagnating energies, but when the ascension energies come around, the full moon stuff, they're gonna continue expanding. The difference is the 5D collective, we expand as people who contribute as pure consciousness to support humanity as we continue to evolve and expand as a species with the future and not with stories from yesterday's news. The not securely attached body of a person who is led by a paused self, not their higher self, has self-fulfilling prophecies. Their lack of flexibility, adaptability, coherence, energization, and stability, thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel again, is their lack of capacity to be in their present and their prefrontal and notice that their personality patterns, their temperament, and their attachment is not what makes them fixed. As long as they don't work with their self in the ownership, they are simply a playing out of their 0-8, which actually makes me think, my gosh, I'm definitely not in any way, shape, or form interested in being with a person, meaning a human being who lacks awareness of you're holding your mouth and everything in the way that you were held when you're a kid. I'm a 45-year-old woman. I ain't going to be interacting with any of that in a romantic way. Okay, so here's the part of when I see the saga that they ended up creating with an oversoul, the soulmates, the twin flames, all that. So there's a reason why those some will stick to those, as I was saying, stories. It's because they don't become conscious. They stay compulsive and they stay within the parameters of that which is a unsatisfied and not securely attached codependent human being who has a dynamic that is called trauma time that they play out. So they just play that out. And whether you want to look at it from a perspective of Patrick Teahan, where they are low self-esteem and direct communicators, passive-aggressive, or Terry Real, where they are adaptive child, parenting, managing, unfulfilled with each other, it's not romance. In fact, they have no idea what romance is. But you better bet that they'll tell you all about their 12-karat golden ring and how important it is for, if you do this one thing wrong, this is going to blow your relationship up. That's a very, no, not interesting relationship. You know what? I'm going to do a separate episode so that we can just focus on relationships, because this one is about the one-to-one personal development, self-help. But we'll look into a little bit of the counterparts since it's coming through. In the meantime, for this one, again, being yourself with integration, anchored in ventral, and embodying your spiritual essence, then you are having a great day on this full moon. If there are mystics, so what we're going to have. For my empowered feminines, the mystics, you are being presented another expansion within the realm of that which is our realm, which is contemplative, emotional, and spiritual. And therefore, it will be involving detaching from the physical plane, whatever your fear is. So for me, I want to live forever, for example. I want to physically live a long life. So that's my consistent opportunity to expand when it comes to moments of ascension energies. The empowered masculines, it's a different story because theirs is a very practical. I will not be speaking for the empowered masculines because I'm not a masculine, but what I can tell you is that the way that ascension energies work for empowered masculines is that their physical life manifests as they are coherent, and that's because they are in harmony within their own embodied body and mind and brain. So they actively are fulfilled as they see whatever it is that they're embarking on with their actual 2 hands and 2 feet. As they do things, we be things, okay? And that's why we complement things. So we'll be back with more. But in either and or all cases, for the 5D collective, it's an expanding moment. It is not torturous. It is not in any way, shape, or form something you will see or feel as punishment. Not punishment. Conscious people don't look at life like that. We just know, with spirit or not spirit, that asteroid better not hit us. Meaning that we have human secondary consciousness. So we are aware that we live, we're aware that we die, and we're grounded in reality, which is we all have subjective experiences. We have a bountiful of knowledgeable people. We have a bountiful of stories, and they all come together here because that's why we are in oneness consciousness, and that's why we're a expanding consciousness and humanity community here and elsewhere. Again, there's a lot of them. We all are doing different things, and as for 3D, 4D, they do things too, because not everybody can capacitate that which you will have listened to for about 30 minutes. Their brain doesn't capacitate it. Their mind doesn't capacitate it. The first step would be that they tend to their inner well-being by getting a true self online, and that alone is not something a lot of people do. So that's the part of why God is benevolent. All his children will have a place, but not all will have heaven in their body, because self-loathing, gut-wrenched, torn apart, and trauma doesn't feel great. And those maladaptive patterns of behavior are fucking, drinking, drugging, not to mention the inner critic, the nightmare in the head, not to mention everything that continues to haunt them day in and day out as they live dysregulated, modulated embodiment lives, thinking that their trauma time is what life's meant to be, and making their superhero, supervillain, shadow light work continue to be an infinite battle that takes place in here, like the Zen master's laundry, and that is human suffering, because they're not getting out of their sympathetic dorsal vagal. They're not consistently learning to use the courage with the prefrontal cortex engaged with their ventral vagal, so non-reactive. Non-reactive, I sit in stillness. Even if I'm upset, I use good stress, because I know how to be mindfully aware of me and to listen and not to crap on me or crap on the event. So I am in the good stress. But anytime I'm moving, as Dr. Daniel Siegel has taught me, I will have a energy in motion. So I still have stress. That's why on the outside, you can't tell the difference. I explain to you what's on the inside, because that's where I have interoception, but also you do. If you are a 5D collective potential, you're going to have it, because you're reconnecting yourself. Your insula, you activate it when you have a good relationship with all that comes up, because you're okay with explaining, sharing, whatever it is, but you're consciously choosing to be aware, accountable, regulate, and to not be reactive, and to not suppress. Okay, so getting out of adaptive child, pause self, and getting out of maladaptive patterns of behavior by consciously knowing the psych education and being with a good therapist for those who go, And then the ones who are done, that's why they continue mindfulness mindset practices, because again, life deals you unknowns, uncertainties, unexpected, unwanteds all the time. With our open hearts, we learn to continuously go with the flow and pursue our own inner growth, which is why empowered feminines and masculines, welcome aboard. Like, share, and subscribe. You'll help the channel grow. And again, we'll be back in a little bit with something on that, which is focused on that romance or empowered couples. And thank you again. See you again shortly.